And it's like, you know what, dude? It's so funny. I
black.
see you in those T-shirts, man. It's like, I remember when I was a kid, and very rarely did black kids show up to Poison or Johnny Cash or Rolling Stones. And it's like, man, he's breaking through. Look at him. You don't even know the fuck you're representing, dog.
But I always got a pair of J's. And I can't lose my car completely. You know what I mean? I'd like to keep people in confusion. Like, what the fuck is going on with this dude? He's got on Wrangler jeans with a pair of Jordans.
What the fuck? It's so funny. I
The Wranglers. I was just a Brett Favre fan.
That is hilarious, bro.
But back to what we were talking about, though. When we were talking about, I guess, material. When I first started, maybe 6 months in, I did a show at Cavaliers Inn.
Yeah.
And it was an all-black audience. Yeah. It was the first all-black audience that I ever did.
Vernon Thompson. Shout out to Big Burn.
Yeah. That was it? I don't even know. But anyway, it was all-black audience. And I was doing, you know, when you start out, you kind of do edgy material. You try to see what your line is.
Boundaries.
Test my boundaries. So I was doing slavery jokes. And
all right.
they had worked prior. And so I was like, yeah, okay. And then I didn't realize that black people don't find that shit funny. You know what I mean? They don't find, I guess it's too soon. I don't know. But it's like, they didn't find that shit funny. And so I'm in there, and I'm talking about like, yeah, you know, da-da-da. And it was so quiet in there, I could hear people drinking. And it was the first time I ever bombed.
Oh, man.
It was the first time I ever bombed. And it was one of the ones where people, when I left off the stage, they would avoid eye contact with me because I was that bad.
Oh, man.
And that's when I realized I was like, I have to adjust my material.
Yeah.
Base. And people make it a big deal. It's cultures.
Hey,
it's
self-awareness.
Yeah.
Black audiences don't really like the religious material either.
Yeah, you know, not fucking with God. Yeah,
that's
I think
that stuff hits in every, like, I did that stuff through the Bible Belt when I was traveling with Davey, and it worked when he's like, it's not gonna work in this room, and I'd try it.
Mm-hmm.
But in the predominantly black rooms, like, it just doesn't work.
Because you grow, because
I made them work at Bikies a little bit because I jumped into it and I was like, oh shit, this ain't working.
Yeah.
And so I found a way out of it real quick and it made it funny. But I realized real quick, like, don't keep going down that rabbit hole. Like, it's not working in here. Like,
because a lot of black people, you know, we grow up. I mean, that's just part of the culture. You grow up, so like you can't.
Yeah, that's a line. That's a line that's non-negotiable. Yeah. Right now, non-negotiable.
Yeah. White people don't care. They're soulless heathens. You know what I mean? So they don't give a
yes,
shit.
That's exactly what it is. They don't care across the country.
Well, I won't say that they don't care, but I will say they are a lot less. They're a lot more loose with it. I don't know, man. I think
when it comes to the Jesus jokes, it's, I don't know, for some reason the white crowds will appreciate them and the black crowds just do not. It turns them off completely. Like, it's
because people's grandma. Because if you were to say that to if you were to say something like that to your black grandma, that would you get slapped in the mouth. You know what I mean? So it's like it's just not part of the culture. For
and you know the thing about it is, and in a way, when a comedian that everybody loved, I mean, both black people as well as white people, Latino, the whole world loved, would get on stage like Richard Pryor. It's almost like he would sit everybody down and we'd all move as a group. We're going to lose a bunch of y'all about some things, but I think we're always going to agree on this. And this is what I find to be funny. And they go, that's hilarious, just because black people do have that problem with the police. And the police do act that way. Just like when Dave Chappelle said, we'll sprinkle some crack on them and keep on moving. Because we all thought black people and white people thought that was funny. Mm-hmm. That's the level at which you have to write jokes. Mm-hmm. On that level, not to get your point across, but it's something that we all.
Like a
bitch. If you're 100% right and non-negotiable, that's just as good. I mean, if it's a point that's, I won't say inarguable, but a really good point. Like I used to say, I love hanging out with everybody when it comes to pot, because I've got friends that are gay and I've got friends that are potheads. You know, it's funny what gay people and potheads have in common. Both of them have to go to work and try and act straight. You know, and it's funny, and everybody in the room goes, that's funny, because that's a juxtaposition. He's not saying you're sad and you're bad, whatever. It's funny. It's something that we all sway on.
Right.
When he said, when Chris Rock said 2:00 in the morning, I'm at an ATM machine. I'm not looking for.
Not looking at the media.
I'm not looking for the media.
Yeah.
And everyone laughed because we recognize that. Black, white, rich, poor, whatever, we recognize that. And that's the formula you have to use because funny is funny.
But the key to the Chris Rock joke is that he built a rapport.
Yes,
With the
you
audience
have to build
first.
rapport.
And so if he would have came out with that joke,
Yeah.
they'd have been like, "What's this Uncle Tom talking about?" You know, his
Ooh,
famous
yeah,
bit
absolutely.
about I love
The Civil War
no,
between
I love civil you're right, my
the
bad.
Civil War between black people and niggas.
Black people and niggas. I loved and that's one of his most famous bits.
Mm-hmm.
If he comes out the gate talking about that, they're like, okay, so you
Whoa.
don't like black people? Yeah. But he builds rapport. I'm
But-
black, I'm okay with I love being black, but
Dude, let me tell
you're
you.
gonna get these jokes.
When he did the show from the Apollo and he came from the dressing room to the stage and they were playing Living Color, Cult of Personality. You guys remember that intro? Were you guys?
I don't think so.
That's one of the greatest intros I've ever seen in my life. It was awesome because everybody was at the same time was ready to laugh at the same stuff. They couldn't wait. And it was so much. I think that's what's missing is that there's no more really good examples of going to see something. Like comics don't come to this town.
They don't.
Big time comics don't come to this town.
I was going to say that earlier when we were talking about the difference between the crowds in Lexington and the crowds in Louisville.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Lexington's club brings in comedians that people really, really, really want to see. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
Like, will you go see a show at the Caravan? Sure.
Yeah.
It's when it's somebody that you know.
Hey,
you're
did
gonna
you know
go,
that
yeah.
Roy Wood's gonna be a comedy off Broadway? What?
Yeah.
Dude, I got 4 tickets. You
Yeah.
going? Fuck yeah,
That's
I'm going.
crazy, yeah.
Dude, did you know that
Will
pick,
McKenzie
pick somebody?
Like,
As comedians, we get excited to see somebody. Oh, I'm a big fan of that
Right.
dude.
Now imagine
But
li-
as casual observers, we don't have a whole lot to be excited about coming to Louisville. As a casual observer, the last big name to come to Louisville that wasn't at the Yum Center or wasn't at the Brown Theater or wasn't at the Palace Theater. Like, who was that?
Worse-
Who was the last one?
worse than that. I won't say worse than that. But when I was a kid in your position, when someone like Roy Wood would come to town, they'd say, "Okay, I'm going to take at least one dude who's local. I got my own opener, but I do need somebody to MC who's the town." And there's nobody who's, you know
They
what I
don't
mean?
even check in.
Who do they
anymore.
ask?
They
I always
don't
was
check in
curious. Who
anymore.
do they ask when that happens? Do they ask the club?
Normally they normally they ask the club, and
Okay.
the club would go, "Yes, we got somebody. Hold on, let me check our schedule. Yeah,
I got
guess
you.
who's gonna be open that night? Great, I'll call him right now." That's how I ended up getting the Chappelle gig, because Spike Davis was gonna be out of town that night, if I'm not mistaken. But I was like the first or second person that they called, and it was a day's notice because they called the club. The promoter would just look up in the phone book. Sorry to use an old man reference, but he look in the phone book. Who's this is how long ago it was. Who's okay? The comedy club says it's this. So you guys represent such and such. Great. We need some talent. Can you get somebody to do a $500 gig for 30 minutes in front of Dave Chappelle? Sure, we'll call you back in an hour. Click. Hey, we got a name. That's how it goes.
Right.
Used to go.
That's how it used to go. But that system's not even in. Well, at least you know what? I can't say that, but I can say I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it. I haven't seen any decent name comics come to any of these theaters, whether it's the Brown but then again,
They do.
They do.
Schultz is coming.
Who?
Andrew
Andrew
Schultz.
Schultz.
He's
Okay.
like probably the hottest comedian out right now.
One
of them.
okay. Dude, let me tell you, man. I stepped back way back from comedy, and I'm just now catching up. It's almost like I'm stepping out of a time machine.
Comedy Off Broadway's had a bunch in the last year. I mean, Comedy Off Broadway's bringing in good names.
Martin Norman and Sam Morril.
Yeah, I mean, they're bringing in
Theo, maybe.
some names that people want to go see.
Hmm.
And I don't think that happens here in Louisville. So people aren't excited to go see comedy shows because they're not going consistently week after week and seeing the names that they're listening to podcasts of.
Yeah.
That they're
So there's no
seeing
momentum.
on TV. Yeah.
Yeah, no momentum. Okay.
Not that I don't think that when it was the comedy caravan, I don't think they ever really had A-list comics coming through.
You know,
what I
man,
mean? Like-
it's hard to say that
But
they
now they definitely don't. You know what I'm saying? And it's not a knock on them. It's just
Yeah.
the market. I think
I mean, they had A-list comics before they were A-list comics. They had them on their way up before they got huge.
right.
Roseanne and Jim Brewer both started in the Caravan and at not the Attic, but the damn the place in Bloomington, Bear's Place. And Shirley's. There used to be a place in St. Matthews. Lenny Clark, I remember seeing him right off of Hurstbourne. There used to be a comedy club off of Hurstbourne Lane. I remember seeing him there.
Do you think that's contributed, lack of competition for the comedy club?
I don't
As
know.
far as like designated clubs in the city, do you think?
Dude, I think it's a lack of interest. I think it's a lack of interest in this town. If you were to stop 7 random people on the street, when's the last time you've been to a comedy club? 7 of them would probably tell you, I can tell you last time I've been to a comedy club. Why is that? I mean, they throw open mics and comedy all over the place. There's 5-6 nights a week. If this was New York, you'd be going to 5-6 nights, and they're right in town. They're right in town. You know, it's not a 6-hour subway ride from open mic to open mic. You know? Why isn't...
I think it's not a thing that is known to do
Okay.
as much. Because people say, oh yeah, they'll say, when's your next show? Oh, it's at the Caravan. Oh, where's that at? But I feel like it probably used to not be like that. Everybody probably knew where it was at.
Dude, you know why? Because every week we were advertising on the radio.
Right.
So everybody who was sitting at work and listening to B96.5 or WQMF would hear something, a little bug in your ear, come to the Comedy Caravan this weekend and you can see such and such. And you'd hear it over and over and over. And, you know, it's a good time. It's a happy hour on Friday when you get off work. We go to the 7 o'clock show and be home by 9:30.
I mean, how many people know ladies get in free on Thursdays right now?
Yeah.
You know? So,
No.
how... Like you were saying, there's so many talented cats. How do we get people in to see these talented cats? Because I'm more than willing to do whatever it is. Because I see the stuff that we're doing as just bait. I want you guys to see what it looks like when you come. I'm just trying to lure your ass in to come see this show. I don't care who's on it. I need you guys to come in because without you, there's no us. It's just us performing in front of us.
Right.
That's not good. There's no. We can't compete with Lexington if we can't even. If no one in our town knows or hears anything about the comedy clubs. You go, hey man, you stop somebody in Lexington, 7 people in Lexington, and go, who's your favorite Lexington comic? They'd have to say at least somebody, because it's so prevalent there, like you're saying. You know, stop 7 people in this town and ask them who their favorite local comic is, not just the circle that you and I travel in. You know, the Facebook comedy, just somebody on the street. Hey man, I'm conducting an experiment. Matter of fact, here's some free tickets to a happy hour show. Who's your favorite Louisville comic? They go, Tom Mabe. It's the only comic they know. Tom Mabe. Thanks, appreciate it. No, those are free tickets to a Tuesday night show. We're having happy hour. There's games and quizzes and prizes. We're also going to do a podcast. I can come and interview if you want.
Right.
Okay. I'm thinking about doing that. Just walking the dogs. Me and anybody else who might want to just walk through the neighborhood and introduce ourselves and go, listen, we're just trying to get people to come in. We're doing a Tuesday night happy hour before we have an open mic, just to kind of mix and mingle with other comics and other people who are artists and want to give them a platform. We're going to film it and then, you know, put it out into the universe.
Right.
Try to build some momentum. Because the fact that you could name 7 solid comics come out of Lexington, I'm like, wow, I didn't know that Lexington was rolling like that because it's been so long. Like I said, I'm pulling out of a time machine. And I'm like, okay, I know you. You're one of the flagships in the 502. You're one of the flagships in the 502. Richie, Keith McGill.
From the comedian perspective, there's not a comedy atmosphere in Louisville, and that's why I think
collective comedy atmosphere.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing: is people say that we should, you know, all come together and make a collective unit. That's not going to work. And the reason why it will never work is because there's moral, you know, I guess obligations that come into play. So there's certain sects of Louisville comedy that will never get along with another sect. Not because of the comedy, but because morally they will not, you know, they will not get along. So you're never going to find a cohesive unit of comedy in Louisville. It's just too diverse with the subcultures within it, you know. And you talked about how there's different cliques, I guess, within the Louisville comedy scene. Cincinnati, they have a lot of success because they all are pretty much one scene. Like it feels like they don't
That's
have,
the way Lexington's seen.
and that's how Lexington is,
Cincinnati.
and that's why Cincinnati has so many killers and stuff like that because
They do work together and they support each other.
Yeah. So you're not gonna get a Louisville comedy scene where everybody's hunky dory. It'll just never happen.
Okay, well, you know what?
And that's fine.
Okay, but now what?